This is N4LQ with the old friends net on 160. Meet here every night at 8 p.m. Love to have you check in if you're running the Amplitude Modulation mode. So if you'd like to check in, give me a call, N4LQ.
N4LQ, this is KO4CTM.
WF2U Whiskey Foxtrot 2 Uniform.
WB4NKL.
Okay, we have KO4 CTM Jim over in Climax, North Carolina. I don't think you and Mir have met yet, but Jim started checking in with us in the morning, and here he is. I'm glad you could make it on 160, Jim. And WF2U, William Fox 2 Mary, down in Landrum's, North Carolina. South Carolina, well, where are you? North Carolina, I guess. And WB4NKL, whom you know well. Is there anybody else?
W4JPL.
K4QE.
Very good. W4JPL and K4QE. Glad you guys could make it tonight. Well, that's 5, 6 people tonight. That's good. Anybody else that'd like to check in, call now. All right, well, there you go. So, well, we're having a nice evening here in Shelby. The wife and I got our absentee ballots all filled out. A lady from across the street came over and what do you call it? Signed them for authorization or whatever. You have to have 2 witnesses. Got that taken care of, and I spent a couple hours trying to figure out who to vote for, especially for the Board of Education, because really that's important to get people in there that aren't wackos. And I ended up calling one of the board members. I told him, I said, you guys need a web page or something to show who's running and why, who these people are. I want to see their resume. So he guided me in the had to vote for 5 people for the Board of Education. So we got that done and all signed and sealed up, stamped, and ready to go in the mail tomorrow. And I feel like an informed voter now. So I'm running the AF-68, AL-82, and the NFED half-wave here. So, Mir, go ahead, and you'll give it to Cliff, and then Cliff to John, then John to Tony. WF2U, N4LQ.
Roger, N4LQ and the net. This is WF2U. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to Jim. First time I hear you here. And the name is Mayor Mike Echo India Romeo. I'm near Landrum, South Carolina, out in Greenville County, not in town. And running the Heathkit DX100B, 100 watts carrier out, and receiving on the NC300 binational, and the antenna is an NFED halfway for 160, about 45 feet high. Well, we had a very nice day today, but temperatures weren't overly warm, so to speak. It went up to 57. That was the highest temperature today. It was nice and sunny, and the humidity was very low. Anyway, with that, I guess it goes to Cliff. WB4NKL, this is WFTU.
Yeah, I gave it to the wrong person. Let me get this straightened out, and Mir, from now on, let's give it to Jim, and Jim can give it to Cliff. So go ahead, Jim.
And then me, G is it.
Gotcha.
KO4 CTM. This is Jim in Climax, North Carolina. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, first time here, and recognizing the braking station there. I didn't get your call, but I'm sure Steve did. Yeah, so just running the Viking run. It's courtesy of Steve. M4LQ, I got from him, and running the SX101 Mark III receiver, and I actually worked on, the only way that I could get this done tonight was to work on my Johnson Viking Model 122 DFO, so I usually use a Helicopter's HA5, but it doesn't do 160, so I had to work a little bit on the Model 122 there. So anyway, I think I send it to Cliff, but straighten me out there, Steve. WB4NKL, KO4 CTM.
Yeah, KO4 CTM. It's WB4NKL. I think that's right, and I send it to John. And hello to Brandon and everybody else checked in here. Jim, you sound good. The conditions are not quite as good tonight as they were last night. You guys over that far over in North Carolina are a little weaker on me. I noticed John and Tony were a little weaker than usual, but copying all right. I didn't get into a whole lot today. I had a tax appointment. Went and got my income tax filled out early, and it was supposed to have been early. Got up there and had to wait about an hour or so. So we got that done and did lunch before we come home, and got in on another 3-mile walk. And I had trouble with my DX100 this morning, and had low modulation. So I got it out here a while ago, and I seen the low modulation problem, and then I pulled it out of the cabinet, set it up on its edge, and got everything hooked up, and now the modulation's fine. I'm thinking probably was a loose tube or something. So I'll pull them and WD-40 the sockets, and probably leave it out of the cabinet. Might run here on 160 tomorrow night before I put it back over at the operating bench. Make sure that there's nothing real intermittent. I did a minute ago. I got the REA hooked up to it, Steve, and I was going to swap the plate caps around and see if it would improve any on the modulation, and started to pull one of them off and broke the glass on 1625, so I had to replace it. Luckily, I've got bunches of those. They're pretty common, 1625 modulators. That's one I've probably got 20 of, so no problem there. I'll send it on down to John. Go ahead, John. W4JPL, WB4NKL.
Okay, WB4NKL and the group W4JPL. Well, good evening to Jim. Good to hear you on 160. And I think there's Brandon in there as well. And hello, Mir, Steve, Tony, Mo, Larry, Curly, Shep. Not a lot going on here, just been working on the house. I've been feeling a little puny, lifting too much stuff. It caught up with me big time, so that's what's going on here. 40-somebody degrees out. I'm just waiting for this thing to cycle around slowly but surely. 42 degrees, so getting cold out again. K4QEW4GPL.
All right. Very good. Well, good evening to everyone. Steve, my ear, Jim, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. I know you haven't heard me before, but I've heard you many times on 75, and glad to make your acquaintance. And hello, Cliff, and of course, John and Brandon. Hello to you, too. So, everybody sounded good tonight. There's been an X-class flare just a little while ago, so I'm not surprised the conditions are a bit suppressed. But I'm feeling much better. My voice is coming back, and I guess you can hear that in the microphone here. Still not 100%, still coughing a bit, but a hell of a lot better than I was last week. So, all good. And I'm going to pass it on over to Brandon, W4GUC. You can pass it to Steve when you're done. This is K4QE.
Okay, Tony. K4QE. Good evening, John, Cliff, Jim, and Steve. I guess that's the lineup for tonight. Yeah, the middle of the state's a little light here tonight into to Bakersfield, but I can copy everybody just fine. 38 degrees here. I think I am fully recovered from the food poisoning, whatever it was. But the hard part was over in 12 hours, and it took a little time to recover, but I'm okay, I think. That being said, I haven't done much today. I did have to run to town, have my ears lowered, and stop in the dollar store, but I guess the exciting news here in Mitchell County, the second acid truck leaving Sabelco, formerly known as Uniman. And there goes the phone, and I'm not going to answer it. It ran off the road and turned over and leaked diesel and only a couple of gallons of acid, but it had Cliff, it had 107 and 226 shut down for most of the day. So a lot of folks got their first trip across Hughes Gap, got spit out somewhere in Roan Mountain. So I'm sure that was an adventure for a lot today. But glad you got your DX100 working. On its side, maybe you've got it turned down flat so far. But anyway, just wanted to stop by and say hello. I missed it this morning. I just couldn't make myself get out of bed. I listened to some of you guys on the SDR, but had to rehydrate and get going again. But looking forward to a couple days off work, healthy. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to rain most of that time, but I'm sure I can find something to do. And hello, Mayor. I don't think I said that. N4LQW4GUC.
Yes, that's why.
All right. Let me get right on frequency. Here we go. All right, KO4SSY. Hello, Billy. Go ahead and do it and hand it back to me.
All righty. Good evening, everybody. Tried to check in a minute ago, and coax didn't want to act right, so I had to do a swap, pull it apart and see what in the world. So, anyways, good evening to all. Barely hearing Tony and John tonight, just enough to tell they're in there, so a little light over here. Everybody else I'm hearing fine. So, anyways, I'll be sitting here listening, trying to get this coax fixed. N4LQ, KO4SSY.
Okay. Yeah, way up high pitch squeal of some sort on you there. I don't know what that is. sound like some kind of feedback. I can narrow my bandwidth down and get rid of it, but just thought, well, you'd probably like to know it's there. I'm not sure what's going on with that. This N4LQ. Well, okay, Jim, glad you got the 122 going. Get on frequency with that thing, it'll stay locked in on 160. That's a good VFO. Has a good reputation. And Cliff, that I tell you what, it's time to get rid of that DX100, and I just happen to have a place over here for one if you decide to go that route. But I think it's trying to tell you something. But it did have a very distinct loud hum. I couldn't believe it this morning. The audio was down. I mean, didn't really bother me that much. It was down, but I don't know if I would think maybe it was down because of the hum. So something like a loose filter capacitor or something like that. Don't know. Anyway, WD-40 to the rescue again, and glad you got to see the tax man. Got that taken care of. And John's working on the house. You'll be doing that for a long time, John, I guess. And Tony and his X-Flare. Yeah, I wondered what that was. I saw a shadow on my deck out here. I thought, oh no, it's another X-Flare. But signals are a little, overall, a little bit weaker than they have been. Just a little noisier and a little floodier or something like that. But I'm copying everybody just fine. No problemeros. And Brandon, I hope you like that motorcycle. I sent a video to Brandon. I stumbled across it on Facebook. It was in my feed. Steam-powered motorcycle. And I know how he likes steam. This thing was pretty cool, man. It had pipes all over it, and I think he said it held 20 gallons of steam or of water, and had a big old crank just puffing away as he went down the road, making a lot of racket. Sounded like a little steam engine. That's what we all need. There's a lot to be said for steam, I guess. So let's take another round here, Jim. KO4 CTM, and now you're gonna go ahead and give it to Mir, and then Mir will give it to Cliff, and then Cliff to John, and John to Tony, and then Brandon, and then Billy, and then me. KO4 CTM, N4LQ.
N4LQ with the group. Very good, Steve. The Viking, the 122, I've had it here for a while. I actually bought it to go with my Johnson Adventurer for CW. And it's been sitting for a while without an octal plug on it. So I stole the octal plug off of the Heathkit DF1. Viking this afternoon to wire up to it so that I could do 150. My Helicopter was HA5 mobile 150, so I had to have something so I could jump in here and holler at everybody. So now I need to buy a new octal plug or a used octal plug or whatever on eBay to put back on the DF1. But anyway, Cliff, I missed my walk today. Every now and then, I try to walk every day, but I don't ever get it done every day. But Brandon, I hope you're recovering from food poisoning or whatever it was. And John, I appreciate the call today and enjoyed talking to you. And Steve, thank you for the email on muting the SX101. Seems to be working fairly well. But also talked to John about that same issue. So anyway, Brandon's they like steam-powered motorcycles. I've got a fairly road team. It's not steam-powered, but I've had motorcycles for many, many years. I had a BMW and several different motorcycles over the years, but right now the current motorcycle is a Harley road team. But anyway, I guess I'll send it on to Mirror WF2U. This is KO4CTM Jim in Climax, North Carolina. Take it away, Mirror.
KO4CTN and the net. This is WF2U. Sorry, Jim, I couldn't copy any more than maybe 10-20% of your transmission. You're under the noise level, which is really not that high. The noise level is about S4, and you keep just about riding below that, and sometimes come out of it a little bit. That's when I can hear. I don't know whether I don't know what you're using, but at least the propagation between us is not that great, to say the least. And it's rare that I can't copy somebody that is in the net. But well, sorry, this time hopefully maybe towards the end of the net, conditions will change and I'll be able to hear you. Things happened before, just like that. And Steve, I think I gave you the report. You are 40 overnight. Cliff, you're a little bit weaker than normal, but you're still getting up to S9 plus. But the QSB values take you down to about a 6. John, also QSB on you between S7 to S9. Tony between S7 and 9. And Brent, Brian, let's see. I have in my notes here. Yeah. You were 5.9 to a little bit over 9. Not a bad signal. So, I worked a little bit today on the Gansa G76. I glued that broken meter together. Finally, it's all glued together, ready to put in. And then I had another broken meter in the junk. G76 that I used for parts, and I used the front panel from it because it's nicer than my working one. And it had the meter also, but it was even broken worse than mine. And also, for some reason, I don't know, the heat maybe of the little lamp, incandescent bayonet lamp. I think it's a number 47 or something. Warped. I never saw that in a G76, not even mine. It warped the scale to the point that it was almost folded in half. And the movement is okay. And I took off the scale and put it under an iron on the ironing board, and I took a piece of G10, put it underneath it, and several paper towels over it, as not to burn it directly from the iron. And I managed to straighten it out just like new, no problems. So I might have a spare meter if the movement works. I haven't tested that. Tomorrow, unless my herding coach is still sick, I'm going herding in the morning. If not, I'll probably have a little bit of time to work on the G76 and finally assemble it. The knobs are already cleaned and shiny, so it's ready to assemble. I'll just let the glue settle one more night before I touch the meter, though. But it looks like it's nicely together now and pretty sturdy. Anyway, that's the story here, and hopefully I'll have the G76 on the air by the weekend. So who's next? Cliff. I assume. Oh no, I can't assume. When are you leaving for Dalton? WB4NKL and the group WFTL.
Break KZ 4 Bravo breaking.
Go ahead, John.
We got you on the list. You'll be after KO4SSY, John.
Roger.
Okay, it's WF2U, it's WB4NKL, and hello to John. Yeah, signals are all a little weaker tonight, but it's probably like Tony said, maybe the X-Class is working on us. I copied everybody, pretty much everything on all the transmissions, though, so I guess it's not real bad. Not like when we had all that static popping going on. Yeah, I think I'll probably hang on to the DX100, Steve, get it back together. It's got mostly been recapped, but one of the filters I was looking is original, one of the can filters. But I caught it when I brought it over here on the bench. It was doing it, and it was modulation was pretty low, and I didn't. If you turn the mic gain down, and you couldn't detect any hum, so I'm thinking it was coming out of probably that 12AX7 was loose in the socket doing something crazy. But like I say, I'll clean the sockets and tighten all the screws and run it for a while before I stick it back in that cabinet. I got another project. Somebody rewired the accessory jack. It don't match the schematics. I was going to put that back. I remember when I was trying to hook an antenna relay to it, I had to hunt around to find the right connections. So I'm going to put it back just like the schematic. So if I need to change anything, it'll be, I won't have to go in and look at it. I'll have to check out that steam-powered motorcycle. I wonder if that's in the future, Brandon. Steam-powered everything. Go ahead, John. W4JPL, WB4NKL.
Okie doke. Excuse me. WB4NKL in the group. W4JPL. 43 degrees here. Sun's not shining much anymore. I don't understand why. I think it's below the horizon, but I'm no genius. I did get a toy in here today. I got the little tiny computer running ham clock, and I hooked that up, and I got it running over there on a separate monitor. And it's interesting, I guess. I don't know how useful it's going to be, but it's kind of interesting. It was something to play with, and I got it running over there. So that's about all I've been doing, ham radio-wise or any kind of something different-wise. So waiting for the Ham Fest to come around so maybe I can get me a new toy. K4QE W4 JPL, Liberty.
All right, very good. And good evening to Billy and to John, if you guys can hear me. Steve, I got a pair of DX100s here that I'm willing to part with. Perhaps we should talk. So I'll just leave it at that. Everybody's sounding fine here. I have a little bit of problem copying Billy only because of the local noise that I have here that I think is coming from my HVAC system. If it wasn't for that, Billy, I'd hear you loud and clear. So I apologize for not hearing what you're saying. But everyone else is sounding fine. And I got over hump day, which is great. I got a couple new surprise assignments, one for tomorrow afternoon and one for Friday evening. But it's all good. It's easy work for me to do, and I don't mind it. I had to take a couple hours off today to take my wife to the doctor's, and I got to take another couple hours off tomorrow morning to take my son to the doctor. So, give and take, I guess. The employer usually gets the better half, but, I take what I can get. And they're usually pretty flexible with me, so I don't have a problem. Anyway, I will go ahead and pass it on over to Brandon. And Brandon, glad to hear that you're feeling better after your episode with the food poisoning. That's nasty stuff, and I feel for you, brother. Glad to hear you're doing better. W4GUZ from K4QE.
Okay, Tony. K4QE, W4GUZ. Yeah, it was rough, but I was glad to see that it was going away after about 10 to 12 hours, so I figure that's what it was. No fever, nothing along those lines. So just another hurdle in the road crossed. And Tony, you came way up that time. You were quite strong, but struggling a little bit with John and Jim. And the sun is definitely alive. I'm not sure exactly what it's doing, but I'm sure everyone here and listening has imagined exactly what their thoughts are on if an EMP actually hit natural or man-made in the Western Hemisphere. I'm certainly glad I live where I do, but there'd still be some challenges. Oh, Lord have mercy. When was the Carrington event? Was it 1867 or 1887? I think it was 67 or 65. Not out of the question, that's for sure. But hey, we've got all this boat anchor stuff. We'll at least be able to talk to each other. Everybody else may be dead, but we'll still be around. And yeah, I seen that video, Steve, on the motorcycle. That was something, but I'm assuming he was powering that with some type of gas, natural gas, propane. Well, not natural gas, propane, or maybe even acetylene. I'm not sure, but I doubt you would get too many miles without having to do maintenance. But that, I think that was the. I'm sure. Well, I know that's the first one I've seen. But pretty neat concept. I would sure hate to wreck. I would have to push off and go the opposite direction of the motorcycle if a crash ever incurred. I guess that's about it from here. I'm gonna head upstairs. think the sun's taking the toll here on the band tonight, but enjoyed it, and my plans are to get up and be a part of the festivities in the morning. And hello, Billy. I think I've already said that. Good evening, John, if you can hear me. And no word from Terry, other than he came home, went back to the hospital. So I may, well, the ex-wife promised she'd keep me updated, but if I don't hear anything by tomorrow evening, I may inquire. I just don't want to burn that bridge. 73 from Staggerweed. I'm going to get a bite to eat. I think the wife, she's been back into the Instapot, so I'm not sure, but I smell carrots and celery and some type of meat, so it's got to be good. Tomorrow night's my night, so I'll have to be creative. 73, KO4SSY, W4GUZ.
Well, alright, I ain't too high, so I guess we'll just live with it. W4GUZ, running off so soon, 73. And hello, John. Probably gonna butcher your call up when I get ready to give it to it, because I didn't hear it, but I think I remember. I think it's KZ4B, something like that. But anyways, good evening to you. And hearing Tony just a little bit in the swirl. The band is really squirrely. 1 minute Brandon was wall to wall, and then it just almost fade out to a hiss. So the band is acting really wonky tonight. So anyways, I don't know how long I'll hang around. A little while longer though. So KZ4B, pick it up, KO4SSY, I believe that's right.
Okay, KO4FSY, KZ4 Bravo. What's the handle there, old man?
This is Billy, and it's Kilo Oscar 4 Sierra Sierra Yankee over in Murphy, North Carolina, over.
Roger, Roger. You're in Murphy. I know where that is. I had my wife's best friend got married in Murphy. And I drove from Albemarle to Murphy, and it took me all night because I was on Highway 64, and I was in a Z28 Camaro that didn't have power steering, and my arms were about to fall off when I got there from all those curves, but it was a lot of fun. Nice to make your acquaintance. SSY, not FSY. Can't read my own Chinese. Sorry I didn't get in earlier on the conversation with a steam-powered motorcycle. That sounded interesting, to say the very least. And I assume some of you have had occasion to go to the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. Henry Ford collected full-size industrial steam engines and had just about every steam engine invented up to his time of the various different types. The most interesting display, and they were all functional. Now, he didn't have steam on all of them, but steam could be piped to them. And that was quite an education all in itself. And great museum if you ever get a chance to go, if you haven't been. And on that note, my favorite, I'm a electrical engineer, but my favorite saying is now we're cooking with gas. So I have a mechanical bent and gasoline in my veins. Shifting gears, I think the Carrington event occurred in 1857. Subject to correction, but that's to the best of my memory. And I guess it goes from me back to Steve. Steve, I assume I'm tail end Charlie. Conditions are quite rocky tonight. Steve, you're booming in here as usual, but some of the guys are up and down. Although I've copied just about everybody. I'm not getting any local interference, which is odd, but I love it. And so it's strictly propagation. So over to you, Steve. N4LQ in the group, KZ4 Bravo, over.
Okay, KZ4B, N4LQ. See if anybody else wants to check in. Go ahead. Well, nothing heard. Oh man, that was a good round. A lot of interesting information. 9 check-ins tonight. Haven't seen that for a while. Thank you, Tony, for the. Yeah, I'm interested in those. I'll come up there and get those in the T150 off of John. If we maybe do a visit one afternoon, that'd be nice. Yeah, I've got a hydraulic cart, so I can pick them up with that, at least from here. The cart weighs as much as the transmitter, I think. Jim, if you need a an octal plug, what I've done is just take an old tube and bust it and gouge out the glass, get it out of there, and heat up the pins, pull the wires out, and use that. If you wanted to get real fancy, you could fill the thing up with epoxy or something. Just an idea. I've done that before, though. And Mir, anxious to hear the G76. And the Ford Museum, that's one place that I loved. I went up there and spent most of the day in that place once. And I think it was the biggest steam engine ever made. It's in there. That thing was huge. And you can climb up in it. And the steam tractors, the wheels were like 20 feet tall, or at least they seemed like it. I sure couldn't reach the top. Monstrous things from way back. The most interesting part was the they had a display where Henry Ford had captured Thomas Edison's last breath. That's in a jar. They had a big vacuum cleaner historic display, and vacuum cleaners going all the way back to the first one, which operated with a big lever, and you pumped it like a bellows type thing, like a blacksmith would use, except it sucked instead of blew. So I just swapped out keys. I was having a nice CW QSO today, but I've developed some arthritis in my thumb, and every time I pushed that thing, that lever on that paddle, it hurt. So I wasn't doing too good. So I scrounged around here and I found a key with a longer finger pieces on it, hoping this would help. And I was using a big ollie, so I switched over to the bencher, which has got these big old long paddles. It's it's one of the cheaper keys, but actually has one of the best touches of any CW paddle made, which is kind of ironic. Let's see. So over to Jim for another round, and I was able to copy you okay, Jim. It did get a little dicey there for a few times, but we'll pull you out. Tell us about your antenna. KO4CTM to take it. N4LQ.
N4LQ in the group. KO4CTM. Yeah, I'm running a horizontal loop. It's a delta loop, so it's a triangle, horizontal triangle. Running balance down through the coax, so I probably need to switch that over to the ladder line and run it through, which would help probably a little bit. But yeah, on the Python run and work get that tuned on, and you know, it could be a little bit of my antenna, it could be a little bit of that. But receiving on the SX101 Mark 3 and the Johnson Viking 122 I hope it sounds okay. It seems to be fairly stable, so I don't see it drifting up and down the band too much, so hopefully it's okay. Let's see. Brandon, I think you're out, but you were coming great here. I hate that you can't pick me up too well, and the same with Mir. You're not picking me up too well. I think it's just the band, but anyway, John, KZ4B, sorry. KZ4B, good to meet you. I don't believe we've ever spoke, so I'm glad that we've been able to talk here. You're coming in pretty well here in Climax, North Carolina. Tony, if Steve doesn't decide to take both of the DX100s, I'm just up the street. It would seem I'm just up the street from you since you're in Liberty. So I'd definitely be happy to pick one of those up from you if Steve doesn't take both. So anyway, I'll send it on to Mir, so KF2U, this is KO4CTM. I'll probably say 73. I need to probably steer up some dinner here in Climax, and usually Wednesday nights is my wife and I Subway night, so we'll probably order some Subway and go pick it up. But I'll probably say 73. So this is KO4CTM, Jim in Climax, North Carolina, sending it to Mir, KF2U. This is KO4CTM, 73.
KO4CTN and the net, this is WF2U. Roger, Jim, almost everything this time. Your signal came up to about a 7, so you were out of the noise and I could copy most of it. So have a good night, take care, and hopefully we'll be able to have 100% conversation with you without having problems with QSB. Also, the noise level is a little bit higher than it was like yesterday, and there is a little bit of static. So that does make it easier, but you came up very nicely, and it was good copy. Not too strong, but good copy. So take care, and good night. Other than that, everybody is good. So let's see, Billy, you went up to about 10 dB over 9 in this transmission. And what's amazing that Brendan went up to, started with 20 over 9 and then went up to 40 over 9, just about the same strength as Steve. Steve, you holding at 40 with just a little bit of QSB, but pretty fairly steady considering. And John K's at 4B, you have a pretty good signal, a little QSB, not much. You're between 15 and 20 over 9. And I don't know if you heard my rundown on the equipment I'm using tonight. It's the DX100B, 100 watts out, and receiving on the National NC300. And the antenna is the usual end-fed half wave, and that's the story from here. And what else? So Tony and John was, they copied 100%, as I said before. And yeah, it's a big net this month. So without further ado, I'll give it to, let's see, I guess it's Cliff, WB4NKL. This is WF to you.
Yeah, WF2U, WB4NKL. Good copy, Mir, and Jim, you come up a bunch. I think the band's improving. Copied everybody 100%. And Mir, I didn't answer your question about Dalton. I guess we're just going to head down Saturday morning real early. It's about 3.5 hours from here, so probably leave out about 4 o'clock Saturday morning, bright and early. Chuck, N4IYQ is going, and Mark, pick him up in Greenville, W4WWC. So everybody's looking forward to it. It's going to be quite cool here Saturday. I think in 40s is a high, but it looks a little better in Dalton. I need to look at that again. Make sure they hadn't decided to put some rain in the mix. But I'll just take a bigger coat, and for the temperature, I can deal with the temperature if it's not raining. John, I have been to the Henry Ford Museum too. I'd like to go back sometime. That's been several years ago, and I had the wife with me. Of course, you know, they get quite bored with some of the some of the stuff that I like to look at. But maybe get back up there again. I'll leave her in a motel room or something. Spend the whole day. But I did enjoy it. A lot of interesting stuff up there. We did that one in the Auburn Cord Museum over in Indiana. I think that was all on the same trip. But I enjoyed that. It was, you know, not too big of a museum, but I enjoyed that museum also. It's quite impressive. So send it on around. Go ahead, John. W4JPL, WB4NKL.
Alrighty, WB4NKL on the group, W4JPL. All right, fine business. I've got a good copy on everybody here. Usually do. A nice quiet location, so that's always an advantage, I guess. Well, fellas, it's getting close to pumpkin time for me, so I'm going to make this final transmission of the evening. Hopefully I'll be in there in the morning on 75. So I hope everybody has a good, blessed night, and I'll talk to you hours in the morning. K4QE W4JPL.
All right. Good night, John, and good night, Jim. And Jim, after I talk to Steve and see what he's interested in, we'll If there's one left over, I'll let you know. Then again, Steve might not want anything, and then you might have a choice of two. Anyway, there you go. Heard everyone just fine out of that round, and I gather some of you have left, so good night to you if you're still listening. And I'm going to get out of here myself. It's been a nice day. Lots of participation tonight, which is great. And looking forward to tomorrow night. I might be late on Friday night, but I'll try to get in here on Friday as well. It depends on how things go, but honestly, I don't think it would be any problem. I know exactly what I have to do, and I got 2 hours to do it in, and I only need an hour. So I should be good to go for Friday night. But I think Brandon signed, but I'll pass it over his way just in case, and if not, I'll let Billy pick it up. W4GUZ from K4QE.
Yeah, I think Brandon signed. If I got it. Yeah, I believe so. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to sign and get out of here and get downstairs, see what the wife's into, and I don't know, tomorrow night is, we shall see. For sure in the morning. Good Lord willing, nothing bends or breaks your tires. And, yeah, John, I've seen you around Hamfest quite a few times, but anyways, I've listened a lot of times when y'all was talking on the old friends on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm on the road using Brandon's SDR. So that's the reason I was able to remember your call sign. So I hadn't been looking at much of nothing as far as, I guess you sent that in the email, Steve. I didn't look at the steam-powered motorcycle. I'll have to go check that out. And say, I guess we'll catch some of you in the morning. 73 from here, KZ4B, KO4SSY, 73.
Okay, KO4SSY in the group, KZ4 Bravo, fine business. Mir, when I first got on, you were in and out. I couldn't copy you very well, but on that last go-round, you were running 20 to 30 over. Conditions have improved, and you were coming in quite nicely. And again, that DX100, I think, is the best sounding rig you've ever been on. It really does sound good. Shifting gears, Steve, I went on the, eham.net, looking at their reviews, looking at ham transmitters, and the T150 only rated 1 point. There were like at least 4 reviews, I think, and it only rated 1.8 stars out of 5. So it did not get a very good review. But there aren't that many transmitters that have that are screen grid that have that much punch, which is good for driving a big linear amplifier. And but I think most of the complaints they bitched about the VFO, which certainly deserves bitching. The big thing was that they were trying to use them on CW, and they chirped like crazy. And I think if they'd had more capacity in the power supply, that could have been gotten around. But anyway, I looked at the DX40s and the DX60s, and there wasn't any much news there. The DX40 was rated almost 5 stars. The DX60 was more like 4 stars. And I think what killed the DX60 was the problem with the mode switch arcing out and failing, which I think T150s could have that problem if you soup up the filtering like I have, and maybe you have. But again, if you don't switch it with it on and use an external on-off switch, I think you can go around that problem. I am not on the T150 as it doesn't work 160 meters. I'm on the Elenco SR9T driving the Titan 1 tonight, and that is feeding my resurrected 160 meter offset center fed dipole that I repaired yesterday, and I think it's going to last longer than I will. I had improperly terminated some things that caused a stress failure in the open wire line. I used 4 layers of Schroomslau, which is German for heat shrink, on the crimp-on solderless terminals, ring terminals, so I don't think there's any stress point anymore. I think that will last right on. So I've rambled on long enough. Let's see. If there was anything else I wanted to comment on, and I don't see it. I guess this is the 73 round, so on that basis, I will say 73. Enjoyed it tonight, and thanks for letting me in, Steve. So, back to you. N4LQ in the group case at 4 Bravo, clear but listen.
Okay, John. Let me check to see if Jim's still here. I've got a question for him. KO4CTM. Are you still here, Jim?
Roger, Roger, KO4CTM, N4LQ.
Yeah, I was just curious about your antenna, if it was cut for 160 or is it an 80 meter loop?
Heck, I don't know. It's 286 feet. That's all I know. It's 286 feet. It's a horizontal delta loop. I think we talked about it the other morning. I'm running a 9-to-1 balance at the antenna, and it runs it goes into a coax and comes down into my MFJ antenna, MFJ window pass-through. So yeah, it's just 286 feet of wire that's at about 40 feet, and goes to the balun and comes down from the coax at about 35 feet down to the window and then into my Palstar tuner. QSL?
Yeah, did you mean 4-to-1, not 9-to-1?
I don't know. It could be 4-to-1. It could be a 4-to-1. It came from Ham HRO, and it was I want to say it's 9-to-1, but I could be wrong. I mean, it could be a 4-to-1.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong. No, you would use a 4-to-1 if you're going to use a balun at all. And what it is, the impedance of a loop like that is fairly low, about 50 ohms up to about 200, 300 ohms, somewhere in that range. It varies. And definitely, I don't know how it's even doing anything here on 160 with all that in place. I mean, on 160, the impedance of the antenna is probably about 2 ohms, and your balun just making things even worse. So if you're going to use it, really it shouldn't even work, no matter what. Best thing you could do on 160 with that's a really short antenna. Actually, it should be 550 feet or something like that. It's the way to find out the length for each band is to take 1005, 1005, and divide that by the frequency in megahertz, and that'll give you the length in feet, I do believe. Try that. It's 500 and some feet, so that's about half as long as it ought to be. But yeah, ladder line would do better, and on 160 you'd probably do well to just tie the ends of the ladder line together and feed it like a long wire or a random leaf wire and tune it up against ground. And that would work fairly well. I guess it would kind of look like an inverted L with the ladder line radiating vertically and the rest of it horizontal. That's the best you could do. Anyway, you're making it over here to Shelby, okay? It's really surprising. So you've got great potential. Okay, and John, thank you for all your comments about the EHAM review. Not surprising, I don't know. I mean, this thing is, the T150 was out a long time before EHAM, I guess. But it had its problems along with all the rest of the boat anchors. All right, guys. Tony, if you're listening, I'll talk to you later, I guess. We'll get together or email. How's that? 73s to everybody, ships at sea, shortwave listeners, and anybody remaining. This is N4LQ closing the old friend's net. Good night.
N4LQ KZ4 Bravo. Steve, does this mic sound any different from the mic I was using previously? Over.
A little bit, maybe a little bit better on the highs. I don't know. Both of the mics, it's probably not the mic, it's probably the rig, or pretty narrow. That thing's clipping off at about a little over 300 cycles on the lows. That's about it. Go ahead.
Roger, this is a Kenwood, the M60 maybe. Let's see. I don't see where it's written on here. But anyway, that was a Alinco hand mic, and I was just wondering, the Alinco's easier to use. There's not a whole lot of difference. I'm in an upstairs bedroom, and there's not a whole lot of desk space. So the hand mic is handier. So if it's close enough, then I'll just keep using it if you can't tell that much difference.
Yeah, there's not that much difference. I think I like the sound of that better. Maybe it's got some more lows in it, but yeah, that's it punches through good. It's got a good punch to it. Got a lot of mids, voice range. So you're doing all right with it, and I would just do whatever is most comfortable for you.
Roger, thank you very much. You have a good evening, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow night if I can tear away from the boob tube. 7-3s, KZ4B clear.
Okay, and don't forget tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on the net. This is M4LQ. Good night.
Night. If I can get up that early, I'll be there.
73, Steve. It's WB4 or NKL. Thanks for calling.
All right. You have a good one. We'll see you in the morning.